Jackson trying to escape and run for it, and he's got it and more. Lamar Jackson down the sideline. Will they give it to him? They will. Touchdown, Baltimore.
And with 1:17 left to play on Wild Card Weekend, the Hayes in the barn.
Oh my God! I wish you guys could. I wish we had a camera in here so you could see what we're doing. We're just a bunch of clowns in here.
How much fun is that?
All right, welcome on back to the edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It is Friday, July 2nd. Made it to July. My name's Jake Luke. I'm joined on my screen by two strapping young lads. I've got on my here on the screen, it's Mr. Mike Reed. What's going on, Mike? You're making your inaugural appearance on the Baltimore Beatdown podcast.
Yeah, here we go.
Is it a great honor for you?
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it, fellas, bringing me in here. Been beat down for a little over a month now, but I'm glad I'm making my debut here. I'm filling in. Big shoes to fill with Spenny P out. I don't have the flow he has or the mane, but hopefully I'll have some takes like him.
Yeah, we can only aspire to the hair, the beard, the takes, pretty much everything that guy has. He's just got it going on. And
he's got the whole thing. So
he does, yeah. And speaking of him, he's on vacay down in North Carolina, so we got the three men weave going here. Just below me, it's Mr. Late for Work himself, Kyle Barber. How's it going?
That's quite a great introduction. Yeah. Things are going great on my end. As you guys could tell on social media today, I officially accepted a position writing for the Baltimore Ravens for their Late for Work series. I'll be doing about 2 per week is what it sounds like. And I am quite rigidly standing on cloud nine right now. It's exciting. I mean, this is a position I've been gunning for multiple years, and I didn't get 2 years ago, actually, and deservedly didn't get the job. And for me to go back, finish up school, get the degree, and learn a little bit more about how to write and how to craft stories and content, and now I'm able to be hired on and represent the Baltimore Ravens was the last part of the email conversation that I had, saying that, hey, you got to make sure to be responsible on social media and your live streams and stuff, because now you represent the Ravens. So it's been quite a whirlwind of a day. It's been incredibly exciting, and I'm just celebrating it, man.
I'm trying to picture what it looks like to be rigidly on cloud nine, because I feel like that would be a situation where you're a little more free flowing.
Not really. No, I am, this because it'd take a lot to knock me off of cloud nine right now. I know, like, you're floating on cloud nine because you're coasting. Like me, I'm on cloud nine. I'm here. I'm enjoying the evening, and it'd take a few hits to knock me off of cloud nine at this point.
So you got on the cloud nine, you cocked your gun, and you were like, you're not getting me off.
Yeah, that's really what it is. I don't want to leave. This is a high for me. This is exciting. This is a career achievement for me.
What's the bev you're celebrating with there?
That is Glenlivet 15.
Ooh, right. Fancy boy over there. Nice. We're doing.
I got it for my graduation gift a couple months back, and I realized that it wasn't empty, and decided I'd have a nice glass to hang out with my boys and give some takes, argue against others, and enjoy the evening.
Yeah. So you kind of got into it there with going to be writing for the team. You're also going to be remaining with Beatdown in the same capacity. So going to be kind of doing it all as far as the Ravens go. So yeah, in all seriousness, very much congrats to you, bud. You gave a chance to me 5 years ago at this point, which is insane. Been doing the pod for a couple years, which you also signed off on, which I really appreciate. So you love to see you having some success there. It's great. And it's like I told you, I want to say a couple years ago or over beers, you pretty much already had everything you needed. You had all the experience, but you go out there, get a little more seasoning, get that college degree, which, again, congratulations on that. And here you are. You've come full circle. I'm very proud of you.
I appreciate it, bud. Cheers.
Cheers, Kyle.
Cheers. Alrighty. All right, gentlemen. Well, there's really not a lot going on Ravens-wise these days. It's kind of devolved. I mean, it's kind of devolved Twitter wise into just an endless revolving door of Lamar Jackson arguments, whether it be with PFF, whether it be with, fans of other, teams and whatever. And like, I kind of try to check out on it, especially during the summer. It's kind of just like, I'm good. I don't really care. But I think what I would probably say is when that's what's dominating the news cycle, there's really not a lot of news to go around. And the interesting kind of tie into that is the fact that his contract situation is also up in the air. So that's kind of the only other talking point that people have. But there's really not much going on with it right now. Mike, you're kind of fresh into the blogging scene.
Yep.
I remember what it was like for me back in like 2016 when I'm like trying to convince myself that Brashad Perryman's like going to be a good wide receiver. Like, what is it kind of like for you kind of jumping into this blogosphere with, you're in the dog days of summer right now, not a ton of content.
No, not much going on. It's definitely, you have to like think creative. So I have a piece in the works. I've told you about it, Jake, going on. I haven't told you about Kyle, but it's I don't want to hint at it yet because it's definitely more creative than usual. But it's the news is very dry, obviously. At least this is our final month before training camp. I mean, pretty much starts in late July, so we finally have some news coming in. But yeah, it's definitely tough, a little dry right now. But it's past draft season, obviously right before training camp, so it's definitely things are picking up really well. So I'm excited to get training camp and the new cycle kind of start back up here.
Kyle, how are things going for you on the other than everything that's going on right now that's really good? How are things been in the editorial sphere, and when am I getting a chance to kick your ass in Mario Golf?
Okay, which part do you want me to address here first? Now, Mario Golf. I haven't touched it yet, but hey, let's. I'm moving to Owings Mills in 2.5 weeks, my friend. I'm going to be out there. I'm packing a U-Haul. I'm driving over there, so don't you worry. I'll be there shortly, and you and I are gonna swing some clubs around, and you'll bully me on the real greens. But I don't know about Mario Golf, my friend. I'm pretty stacked when it comes to video games.
It's really good. I wanted to. I meant to hit you up. I guess we're having this conversation right now, but I meant to hit you up about me getting like a dual streaming thing going on with that because I am surprised with how much I'm loving the game. I liked the old ones from like 15 years ago. Like the recent one, I had actually gotten. On like eBay during COVID because I was just like, all right, I need some nostalgia to like help unbreak my brain. So I played a little bit of that, the one from GameCube, and then this one came out. It's blowing me away, man. You should really get into it.
People are loving it. It's like all over social media, and like the excitement of the game has been really fun. As for the question on editorial stuff, as for content creation or the lack of creativity that we're seeing recently, I had to write 2 samples to work with Late for Work. When I was in my application process and working with them, and it's really kind of devolved into a little bit of lists that are either ranking Lamar Jackson highly, not highly, and like some conversation topics regarding other players and like John Harbaugh and different rankings on that. For the offense, defense, different crops of players in different positions and how things are breaking down and are broken down. So it's a little bit of a grind. Like Voss has said it a billion times. These are the dog days of summer. These are where, you just try and be creative. You try to find a concept or just an idea that you can materialize into something greater, and it's a little challenging sometimes. Voss helped me come up with the greatest field goals in Ravens history article because I was sending him an email. I was like, dude, I am losing it. I was like, I can't keep looking at these lists over and over again and coming up with nothing. Like I need concrete content at this point. And he's like, how about this idea? So it's a little bit of a grind. It's sluggish, but overall, we're about a month out from training camp, which is so very exciting.
Which is upset of the century that you didn't come up with that idea, by the way.
I know, right? I was struggling, man. I was really struggling. And he's just like, what about this idea? Like greatest field goals. Because we're going through different player ideas and different like greatest seasons of players. I'm giving away topic ideas for anybody else here. But it was like different players' best seasons, and you go through and you rank them and stuff like that. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. I think I'll do that. And then he's like, what about field goals? And I was like, I should have thought of this already.
In the fine words of Spencer, kickers aren't real. So hopefully you didn't see that one yet.
Kickers are real, and I will fight the bearded, maned wonder that is Spencer Nathaniel Schultz.
Number 9 is for sure real. Number 9 on the Ravens is real.
Facts.
That's a real kicker.
Facts and logic.
Facts, logic, and reasoning, just absolutely just dominating the landscape there with what you got going on with the kickers. So obviously, keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a tremendous scene there with the kickers article, because I feel like you always have a great, a banger of a kickers article, in the dead of summer, and it's just like, all right, this is going to carry us for weeks.
Oh, the annual NFL Kicking Crown article. I haven't begun it, because once I begin it, as soon as I finish that article, all I want to do is hit publish. If I finish it at 1 in the afternoon or 1 at night, all I want to do is publish it, because it's this 2K word piece, and I've just churned through data. I've searched every kick by I think it's up to 13 kickers now that I have data on, and I've measured every kick, every missed field goal, every make. I've broken down everything, and statistically, and I just love writing those pieces, and that's why I do them once a year, once every the season's starting up, because I can't do it too frequently, or else I think I kind of loses its luster, and it's really hard to push a kicking article that is more than once a year with this kind of effort.
Wow.
All right, well, I guess that's a little bit of a summary of a summary of what we've had going on at the website here the last couple weeks. But gentlemen, we do have a little bit of a mailbag to jump into, so whenever you guys are ready, we can get into that.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready.
Cool. Well, we can start with Twitter, and this is what my favorite part about doing this is when I open up the mailbag, or when I have to open up the mailbag and I'm just totally filibustering because I didn't pull it up when I was, getting ready to say that the segment was going to start. So my filibuster is over. Stuart Schock, first question on Twitter. Okay, so this is his second question, apparently. Let me see if he's threaded them. Okay, no. So he says, question 2. I'm really just absolutely crushing this out the gate. You can bring back any former player in their prime to join the team this season, but they cannot be a Hall of Fame player or someone with a claim to being a Hall of Famer. Steve Smith, Anquan Bolden is the examples he gives. Who do you choose? That's a little dicey, kind of saying that they have a claim. I think Anquan Bolden probably will be. Steve Smith probably will be at some point, but that kind of feels a little okay. How do you define that?
Right.
I don't think Anquan Bolden is Hall of Fame material, and hopefully that's not burnt to the ground as a take there. He is an incredibly talented player.
That is a take right there.
I think he's the guy that people point to say he's on the cusp. I think that's what people see him as. Unfortunately, he's a dominant player of his era. Let's get some stats on Anquan Bolden, of course.
13,000, almost 14,000 yards.
Roof.
Almost 14,000 yards, 82 touchdowns, 12.8 yard catch, 202 games, 1,076 catches, the best postseason run for a wide receiver maybe ever. I mean, maybe
arguably.
not.
Larry Fitzgerald had a better.
Yeah, not statistically, but he's in the conversation.
Right.
He probably had the best rookie first game ever by a player.
Oh yeah, big time.
He went for 250 and 2 touchdowns and 14 catches in his first game ever.
I'm
not saying he's not a great player. I think he's with the logjam that is wide receivers in the Hall of Fame. I think Anquan Bolden's going to be a guy that might miss out. I think he might, because Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce had to battle it out just to get into the Hall of Fame, and both of them were more than deserving of being a part of that. I think that Anquan Bolden is a phenomenal player. I was fortunate enough to watch him play in a Ravens uniform before he played elsewhere. Overall, though, I'm uncertain if he gets into the Hall, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm saying that there's just a logjam at that specific position, and it's really tough for wide receivers to get in when there's still players that haven't been able to make it. It took Art Monk years upon years to finally get into the Hall of Fame, so I think Anquan might have to wait. That being said, the fact that he has a possibility at it, maybe that does cancel him from being a part of this conversation. I also would have Marshall Yonda as a guy that you can't add onto the team because he has a Hall of Fame bid, a part of this argument. So that's another guy that's who I thought was the example here, because the Ravens offensive line's pretty well set outside of right guard, even though there's a battle with Ben Powers, Cleveland, and a few other names there. Mike, do you have a name?
Yeah, I actually saw this question too, Stuart Shock, like before this, and I thought of a pretty good one. And the worst part is we literally could have him on our team right now. We could have paid him 2 years ago, and it's Zadarius Smith, like 1,000%. Like we paid Earl Thomas or Zadarius Smith money that year, and I'm still kind of mad about that one. He would be the perfect fit for our defense. He's been balling out the past 2 years, the Packers. I think that would have been the home run kind of player we need on the edge right now, with Judon obviously gone. So Zadarius Smith for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that might be one I wouldn't have thought of. I might just say like Matt Burke or Ben Grubbs, and kind of like throw Ben Grubbs in that left guard role.
I like that.
Would you want Ben Grubbs over Kelechi Osemele?
Ooh,
because Big KO was absolutely dominant with the Ravens.
I might take KO too, because he's like a swing tackle also. He can play right tackle.
Yeah,
I take the versatility.
Yeah, that's a good point. KO's in the mix. I also just kind of think KO's like sneaky kind of a dick, and maybe that's why I'm not like including him.
I think we've had off microphone conversations about KO and some stuff that we may have heard
Interesting.
that we can't like report because it's one, off the record, and two, we can't corroborate a story legitimately, so that's why. So I think
and
that's kind of part of it.
He also, when he was with the Raiders and they came back in 2016, he's like straight up just said like, "Oh, it's nice to go to the Raiders where they appreciate good offensive line play." Coming from they don't appreciate.
I missed that. Wow, I did not hear that.
Yep, there was definitely that. Would you want like Ryan Jensen?
Oh,
that's a good pick.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
He would just lock up center, and then you don't have to worry about center with Bradley Bozeman. Bozeman can just stick at left guard, and Ryan will just bulldoze for everybody after he just won a Super Bowl ring with Timmy Brady down there in Tampa Bay, Florida.
Tampa Bay.
That
low-key might be the pick.
Yeah,
I think there's that. I think you want you want like a guaranteed pass rusher, so it's hard not to be like Peter Boulware in this instance, because you can't take Terrell Suggs because Suggs is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
and so you gotta go with that.
Besides Smith, I'm trying to think who else.
Elvis Dumerville, back when he had 17 sacks, I believe, in a single season. Absolutely and utterly dominant in that 2014 year. Those are guys, because like the biggest weakness, I think, and a lot of people are pointing this out, is edge rusher. So I liked the idea of going Zadarius Smith. That makes a lot of sense, especially because Zadarius is a unique instance of being a guy that can line up at like, I think the 3 or the 5, one of those two, because he can put the hand in the dirt and he can battle up against on the inside, but he can also be just this powerful edge rusher that we've watched him both in a Ravens and Packers uniform now, just go in and just kind of wreak havoc wherever he is, because he's just massive.
He's gotten better over time too.
Yeah.
Every year he was.
That was actually my first blog I did when I wrote for Ebony Bird a couple years ago, when I broke onto the scene a little bit. I talked about the free agency moves that year, and I predicted him to just like leave. But like I was like, oh, it's probably just be another Arthur Jones, like kind of just Paul Kruger, like just like got like a big contract, kind of fizzled out. But he's just blossomed since leaving the Ravens, which is good to see for him, because he's just a really good guy, awesome player. But I just wish it was on the Ravens. He was balling out still, but.
This is the if this is the pat yourself on the back section, this was the one time I was like, this is a guy here's a guy that is going to continue to perform well. There we go. I lined it up for us. But no, I remember watching him and I was like, this is a guy you pay still. Like he doesn't perform great like admirably because of the scheme around him, like Paul Kruger was, like Arthur Jones did at some points. Arthur Jones was still a really talented player, but you could just see that Zadarius Smith was more so than the scheme and then the fit and the right player at the right position. He was dominant for what he was as just a player, and I was like, I was worried that exactly what's happening now is coming true, and that he's just this pressure creating machine.
At least we didn't sign CJ Mosley that year. So that's
$17 million.
we almost got in.
I remember arguing with Logan Levy back when he was working here with Baltimore Beatdown, and he's like, I wouldn't pay that guy $8 million. And I was like, I'd say 10. I said 10 to 12.5 was like my max. And then that dude got 17.
One of the rare times that Logan's been on the right side of history with something. So shout out to him for that. But he was definitely right on that. Definitely a little bit of a CJ Mosley hater, especially when he was like a really good player and he just liked to get on him. But yeah,
when he was good. Yeah, like when he started performing a little less than we had expected, we thought his development was going to continue to boost up. Logan wasn't even as harsh on him. Logan was harsh on him when he was good, when he was like performing really well on his like dominant years when he was paired with Darryl Smith. So Smith was just this coverage, monster, just dominant in the middle of the field, and Mosley was freewheeling whatever he wanted to and making plays, and Logan still was just harping on it. He did send me a text congratulating me too, by the way. Pretty awesome to hear from him. So
I haven't heard from him in a bit. I think he got a new job. So
he did, yeah, no, because I looked up his Twitter account afterwards because I thought he was still with Mayville State, but he is out coaching elsewhere now. He's a running backs coach. So my coaching tree, my hiring tree boasts some pretty good guys. Kyle Andrews is with Penn State, I believe now.
Yeah, he's covering
State. Covering Penn State.
I thought he was on Beatdown. Yeah.
Former. Yeah, he went to Baltimore Sun, and now he's covering Penn State. And I got I got a current college coach, a part of my tree, and I got Jake Luke, this dominant Emmy Award possible winning podcast miniseries. Incredible stuff.
Whoever can get me in touch with the sports Emmys, I will gladly submit that for it because everyone in the world is a sports Emmy, so that will be sick.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I guess we answered that, right?
I think so.
We talked Kelechi Osemele. We had Ryan Jensen. We had Darius Smith and like Peter Ballware.
Last one. Tony Jefferson, just because he's my boy. I love Tony Jefferson, just for personality wise.
I like that for a personality pick. A nice guy.
Nice personality pick. Him and Eric Weddle, bring them all back.
Oh yeah, Eric Weddle too. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to TJ for getting that job with the 49ers. Gonna kill it. Yep. Evan, same one as last time now that the mailbag is back. What are the show's realistic rookie expectations? So we don't have to go like too crazy like CompuBox fuckboys and like talk about the stats. But we could do just like what are you kind of expecting overall from the class? What do you guys think? Mike, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think realistically you could be looking at your first three picks. Best case, they're all starters and big all impact players. Go down the line, Bateman starts day one, away starts. The edge position is going to be weird. It's probably more rotation. It's not like kind of more set in stone. Like Bowser will probably start, and then away kind of maybe does all the pass rushing reps. But big impact player there. And then Cleveland, if he wins the job at left guard, you could have three really day one starters. And then I think the rotational guys too, like Tylan Wallace, I think is hasn't really seen yet in camp yet, but I think he could be a very impact player. That's a fifth wide receiver. And then Sean Wade as definitely a rotation guy. Hopefully corners are weird, like with the injury stuff. So we want as deep as possible as the corners, but I think Sean Wade hopefully won't have to have a huge role, but he definitely could fill in when needed. And then Dalen Hayes, obviously he's another rotational guy as well. And then Ben Mason, who knows about him? I don't know what he'll do. Just be the practice squad guy or fill in for Ricard. But is that all of them? I think. Yeah, but
yeah, I think you hit them all.
I think three day one stars is probably best case scenario for those first three picks.
Yeah, that's for my opinion. I think I agree with most of what Mike mentions here. Rashad Bateman, of course, seems like he's going to either be a starter or he's going to be third man in after Marquise Brown and Sammy Watkins. He's going to be battling up against some of the other guys for playing time. But overall, there's no reason why the Ravens won't be trying to get this guy on the field. He's damn good, of course. Number 27 overall pick. He crushed it at Minnesota, and he deserves to be on the field and making plays. And Lamar, reportedly already likes playing with him a lot. Same with Sammy Watkins. So those guys are going to get some playing time together, and the offense looks a little bit more pass happy, or sounds more pass happy, because we haven't been able to see him personally. Odafe Owe, I think that's going to be one of the most exciting picks for the Ravens this upcoming season. This is a guy that has the opportunity to make a really big splash for the Baltimore Ravens here in 2020. He's got opportunities because Matt Judon, Yannick Ngakoue, Jihad Ward, all three of those left in free agency. And that leaves him battling for playing time with Tyus Bowser, Jalen Ferguson, and Pernell McPhee. Jalen Ferguson was healthy scratched throughout the playoffs and for about 4 to 6 games. I think that's what Voss had wrote on his one of his most recent articles about X Factor players in the 2019 draft class, I believe, and that's pretty worrisome to come into if you're Ferguson. But as for if you're Odafe Owe, that's an opportunity because Tyus is gonna start because he just got paid. He re-signed with the Ravens for, I believe, a 4-year contract. But overall, they drafted you in the first round. The team believes in you. They liked your metrics. They liked your work. They didn't give a damn about you having that 0 sacks because they saw what you were doing instead. Odafe Owe looks like a guy that is capable of performing to incredible expectations. Ben Cleveland's battling it out. And I'm curious to see what happens with Ben Cleveland. But the big question mark, more than anybody, Dalen Hayes has been talked about being in rotation. They really like him. Sean Wade, they've talked about. Tylan Wallace, is this quote unquote sneaky guy that could be even better than Rashad Bateman. I'd like to pump the brakes on that kind of talk too, by the way. I didn't know if I even wanted to mention that because I'm so exhausted of everybody being like, man, Tylan Wallace, this guy is going to be even better. But
yeah, I don't know about that. But
my big question mark is Brandon Stevens. Like the Ravens picked this guy in the 3rd round, 104 overall at a SMU. And
I was going to say, Mike, did you get Brandon Stevens? Because
I don't think you did.
Most forgettable pick, I think.
Yeah, I think you went Cleveland straight to Tylan Wallace. But Brandon Stevens is this 3rd round guy, and everybody didn't have him on their draft boards. Didn't really know where he was. But the Ravens were like, this is our guy. Yeah. A bunch of teams were super high on him, and we liked him the most, and they drafted him. And the Ravens motto, you can never have enough cornerbacks. What does this guy offer? Because we haven't seen a whole lot from him. We haven't heard a whole lot from him. And I'm curious to see if he's going to be battling with Tavon Young or if he's trying to fight for that CB2 spot or CB1 spot all of a sudden with Marlon Humphrey, even though that sounds absolutely incredulous. There's not a lot known about Brandon Stevens, and I would love to know more about him because it's so peculiar that a guy that so many didn't have on their draft boards or had, as a day 3 guy went 104 overall to the Baltimore Ravens, and they're proud that they got him at 104.
His football path is pretty awesome. Going from running back UCLA to corner and then safety. I think the last year at SMU, right? Did he play safety as well?
I think he just played all over the place. I'm fairly confident of.
So the Ravens with versatility, he realistically he should be a day 1 contributor on special teams, with that versatility. Absolutely. But yeah, it's definitely interesting if he's going to be a corner because they announced him as a safety. I want to say right when they drafted him. I think.
Yeah, they said safety that night, I think.
Yeah. It was either safety or defensive back.
Defensive back, yeah. But he definitely could be maybe a Levine, a more athletic Levine, which is kind of middle of the field, doing this and that, and then special teams kind of thing. But
he could be that dime player that they really like as a coverage guy. Because Levine, as great as I love Anthony Levine, you guys know I'm a huge special teams guy. All I talk about is Sam Cook. I talk about long snappers. I talk about Justin Tucker endlessly. I have an article about kickers every year. I love special teams, and Veen is part of that. Yep. And I love Anthony Levine, but you know what? He's getting up there a little bit, and maybe finding his replacement. I'm not saying that they drafted him specifically. We got to go in the 3rd round to get Anthony Levine's replacement right now. I'm not saying that's what they did. I'm saying that this could be the guy that stumbles into this awesome dime role, which is becoming more and more important in the NFL. Being capable of covering bigger tight ends and also being able to cover more than what linebackers can. Being a faster player that's still big. That could be Brandon Stevens.
Yeah, that was kind of the funny thing. He's the guy who I will never forget. Weirdly, that's one of the moments of the draft. We're sitting here, Spencer and I, live streaming it. You guys might have viewed too. I think by that point in the night, Mike, you weren't with us yet. I don't think, but
no, I wasn't. No, I missed draft season.
Yeah, so we had the live stream going, and I think Kyle, you and Voss might have been on it or something, but they picked him, and we just didn't know what to say. Like we were like, "Who the hell is this?" And he gets there, and good-looking kid, really well-spoken. Like seems like he's going to be a good pro. And James Prochet, the second coming of Christ in the eyes of many.
I'm a James supporter too, so I'm with.
Oh, I am too. Listen, I was the original Prochet supporter, but I'm now back the other way. But James Prochet.
Are you guys talking about Jerry Rice too? Is that what you guys are talking about right now?
Well, he wears a 2 on he's James Prochet 2 on his
I know. Oh, I know. That's why I mentioned it.
So I'm looking at Stevens's picture on the Ravens website, and he has the C on his chest. It's pretty awesome to see that he was elected captain SMU, and he was transferred there. He was only there at probably 1 or 2 years at most, so that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, he was there for 2 years. He played 2016 and 2017 as a running back with UCLA. Transferred, couldn't play for a year because you have to wait a year after you transfer, I believe, in NCAA. And so he played in 2019 and 2020 as a defensive back for SMU instead. And he played 23 games while at SMU and did all right. Got an interception, had 22 passes defensed in 2 years, 12 and 10 in back-to-back years. So that's not bad. But I'm just super curious about this guy because
very curious.
This sounds like because this would be what you would call the prototypical raw guy because he went from running back in his second year in college to suddenly he's a defensive back in 2019 after being a running back in 2017. It's really peculiar, and I just want to know more about him. Like this is the player that is an enigma for me. Yes, there's Rashad Bateman, and we all want to know how significant he is as a player, or Dafe Owe, because he went from the 0 sacks and he was like this. He was a guy that was built on metrics and his like performance instead of like Jalen Ferguson, who was all about like breaking sack numbers in the NFL, and he was all statistically great. But Brandon Stevens, you don't really have data on, and you haven't seen a whole lot on just as a whole. So I'm super curious about him. Jake, you're making quite the face. What is going on?
Even his name, Brandon Stevens, like he's the kid who. He's the kid who you were like playing GameCube with at the sleepover that you didn't really know him, but like you're kind of vibing. You're playing some Mario Kart. You're like up past 11, so it's like a really big deal. You've maybe had a little too much Dr. Pepper, and you're just vibing with him. You're like, who this kid is? He goes to another school, whatever. And then like you wake up and like he was the first one to leave. His mom came and picked him up, and it was like, oh yeah, that was just Brandon Stevens. And like that.
I see it as like he's in Madden create a player name. Okay. It was just like it's the most generic. It's like there's John Smith, Brandon Stevens, Bryce Tanner. Like that's what I see it as, and I'm just super curious to see what this guy offers because if Eric DaCosta wanted him at 104 overall, I want to know why.
I keep thinking too, like did maybe think other teams like were on the radar with Brandon Stevens as well? Because like what if
that's what's rumored?
If they didn't take him at 104, like. What if they like switched Tylan Wallace and him? Like, what if they took Tylan Wallace at 104 and they took Brandon Stevens at 131 if he was there? Like, I don't think anyone would be like kind of like batting an eye. Like, I feel that'd be like maybe a little bit better of a thing. But
I think so too. I think that's also a part of my curiosity.
Yeah,
is they took him within the top 100, right? Like, or excuse me, they took him at 104, so right outside the top 100, and it's really strange to see that because. That Tylan Wallace was at 131, and so you can be like, okay, they got their 2 wide receivers, and that's what the Ravens needed, and they were trying to reach for wide receiver. They got Tylan Wallace, but like, who's this Brandon Stevens guy at 131? But they'd be more comfortable with seeing like, oh, he was around 4 pick, but he's around 3, and he's just outside the top 100, and that's like a big deal in itself too. So I'm just desperately curious as I continue to state here, what is this guy about? What is he offering the Ravens? And why did Eric DaCosta see him and go, that's our guy right now at this round?
I keep going back to the night it happened, but like it was funny because I remember being caught in that stupor of like, who is this guy? They just picked him in the 3rd round. This is a disaster. We have no analysis. There was no film of him. I started Googling furiously. I couldn't find anything. But then I saw Matt Miller's tweet, whose opinion I respect, I think, on a lot of guys. And he was like, wow, Brandon Stevens is a stud. Ravens are great at this drafting thing. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, that helps a little bit. I still can't find any like tape on him, or not even like one of those like shitty like highlight videos on YouTube or whatever. But it was one of those things. It was kind of a funny situation the way it played out. And I think fans would be a lot more pissed off about that pick if the draft hadn't played out the way it had otherwise.
Yeah. And then you had Emery Hunt too on, and he was a big fan of Stevens too, right?
He did. Yeah. He loved him. He's Emery's like always keyed in on those like smaller school guys. So I think when we got him on, we were especially excited to ask about him, and I'm glad that he was a fan of his as well. So yeah, good pull there.
And then to hit on this too, like Sean Way is like also very intriguing in the same light as Stevens, where he's like unknown. Like Sean Wade, if there's like the 2020 draft, like he could have been a first round pick or second round pick. Yep. The Ravens got him at 160. Like I'm very intrigued to see like once the Ravens coaching staff gets a hold of him, like what his potential is, because a year ago he was a top 60 pick and we got him at 160. So that's just another insane one.
He had a dominant year.
Yeah,
and he could have been first rounder, just like you mentioned. He could have been a day one pick easily, like guaranteed a day two pick is what his what he was being mocked at. Mm-hmm. And suddenly he just regresses in his second year. And he says some of it's because like he expected a holdout, and then they expected not to play games, and then he got hurt, and then he was dealing with some family loss, and that stuff definitely adds on anybody and everybody. So I'm curious to see what how he can provide play for the Ravens here in the upcoming season. Him and Stevens, just like the secondary for the Ravens is so much fun already, because you get to watch Marlon Humphrey, who is a lockdown cornerback who also just peanut punches everybody into submission. And then there's the gambling man, Marcus Peters, who wins against the house more often than not. And then behind him are two other starting safeties. There's Anthony Averett, who I would argue is a starting safety or the number 3 corner, not safety, excuse me. He's a starting corner or the number 3 on just about any team. And Jimmy Smith, who's this beloved veteran corner for the Ravens. I stand Jimmy Smith, of course, and there's 2 more guys right in line that the Ravens are trying to groom and develop into their next set of starters or what so have you. And that's not talking about Tavon Young, who's returning from another ACL tear, who's honestly one of the best slot cornerbacks in the NFL when healthy. We all know that.
I feel it's probably like our imagination now at this point. Like I don't even remember last time Tavon Young played like a full season. Like I remember that play against Atlanta. That's like the last memory I have, when he like scooped and scored that play, that fumble versus Atlanta. That's like the last memory I have of him.
Which play against Atlanta? I can't even remember. It was so long ago.
Oh my gosh, you're ridiculous. I still just remember him battling out against Tyler Eifert when he was on the Bengals, and Tavon Young winning a red zone like jump ball against Tyler Eifert. I'll never forget. Like, I think I had that as like a background screen on my laptop at one point, because the fact that Tavon Young, this shorter slot corner out of Temple, is going up against like 6'4", 6'5", like robo-armed Tyler Eifert, because Eifert was the same way as Gronk, had the RoboCop arm.
Yep.
And like going up and battling up against Tyler Eifert, and he won that snap. He won that rep against him, was nuts. And so I've always liked Tavon Young for his play and his competitiveness and his mindset in that regard.
Yeah, Maryland guy. Want to see him succeed. Versus Torix. I saw Patrick Queen struggle mightily in passing scenarios year 1. Could you talk about his growth / expectations for him this upcoming year? Very broad, I know. That's okay that it's broad. We wanted it this week specifically. Patrick, like, it's unfortunate we don't have Spenny here, because he could break down probably some more schematic stuff. Right. We're probably a little bit more untrained eyes as far as like the film goes, like, admittedly. But for me, what I've talked about a little bit, I think, in the past, and kind of like moving forward to continue to talk about it, is the fact that like he's just a guy who, he seemed like he was playing with his hair on fire at all times. And like when you're a rookie linebacker and inside linebacker with all his athleticism, like that's a thing that can work for you in a game a la the Bengals, where he's making all these plays. He's all over the place, making tackles left and right, scoring touchdowns, sacking Joe Burrow a couple times, and a game that he's fired up emotionally because he's playing against Joe Burrow. That can go against you in a game like the Patriots, where that's his most infamous game. That's the game everyone points to as him getting victimized, where you're going up against Bill Belichick in this very deliberate Josh McDaniels offense, and the offensive line is big and beefy, and they're doing all this crazy shit with the offense, and then he gets victimized on that Jacoby Myers touchdown with the wide receiver pass, and everyone kind of looks at that, and that's sort of emblematic of his rookie season, and it's not helped by the fact that I think PFF looked at a lot of that kind of stuff too, and they got on him a little bit, and I think the narrative just kind of ran from there. I think he was a player who has a lot of potential, was imperfect as a rookie, has a chance to be really, really good, and it's all just kind of in between the ears for him. He is a guy who has all the ability, and he's just got to season up a little bit. And I wish I had a little bit more of a schematic answer, but I imagine you guys kind of are thinking the same thing.
I locked myself at SIS for 48 hours, watching the tape, breaking it down, going through his Dallas Cowboys film tape. I watched every snap, every which way. And there was 22 instances of him making plays. But no, in all actuality, I did kind of look through his numbers a little bit, and I noticed he really excelled against lesser teams. And that's, I think, because when you're a rookie, that hardly gets an off season. And that's something he specifically noted. I'll go back to that, but he's noted that, he didn't have a full off season. He didn't have any opportunities. So he didn't understand the game until about his 5th game. But overall, when he went up against lesser competition, which was the Bengals, which was the Dallas Cowboys, I believe he had an interception in that game. He had a pass defense. He had that, forced fumble, and he had 2 fumble recoveries. Against the Bengals, scored that touchdown. He performed great against teams that weren't as NFL quality as some of the other opponents in there. But when it came to trying to battle it out against real coaches, when it came to quote unquote real coaches against more prolific coaches, I think is a better way of phrasing this. That's when he struggled because those coaches were capable of, dissecting his talents, his strengths and weaknesses, and utilizing that for themselves. Andy Reid saw areas that he could, victimize Patrick Queen in the passing game, against the screen game, against him being young in the NFL and trying to play that center field position as the middle linebacker. New England, as you mentioned, was another game where he was trying to battle it out against Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick knew, what areas this guy struggled against when he was playing against KC, and how can we utilize that effectively in our in our game. And that's areas that he's just going to have to learn. He's going to have to become a smarter player, a more cerebral player. And I think he's more than capable of doing so. I think having a legitimate offseason is going to be helpful and beneficial for him. And just, getting reps in the NFL, every rookie is 12 months away from the phrase, the game's starting to slow down for me. Everything started to slow down for me. We were, Joe Burrow got drafted. We instantly were 12 months away from him in year 2 saying, the game's starting to slow down for me. I'm figuring things out more. I'm seeing things a little bit more effectively. That's what it is with Patrick Queen. That's no exception. It's a cliche, but it's also a true one that it's really hard to get up to NFL speed. You go from being in college, which you might have on the field when there's 22 players there. You might have 10, under crazy circumstances, or if it's an Alabama game against LSU or Clemson, you got about 10 players on the field that are actual NFL quality, NFL caliber. And the NFL, every single guy on that field is NFL caliber. That's why they're in the league. That's why they're playing it professionally. That's why they get paid. And so Patrick Green's got to get up to NFL speed. It's really hard to do so. What this job entails is really difficult, and I expect he'll grow and develop into that, because there's a reason the Baltimore Ravens drafted him. There's a reason that they believe in him, and he's he was a first-round pick for the Baltimore Ravens.
Love it. The one play that really stood out to me last year from him, and the reason why it stood out to me because of the very impactful play and the biggest game of the year for the Ravens, which was the Titans game, wild card, was the 4th quarter. The Titans were marching at the goal line. It was probably around the 15-yard line, I want to say. And it was that screen pass they threw to Derrick Henry, and he did a kind of a hezzy, move off the house lineman, and went around him and stopped Derrick Henry behind line of scrimmage, and like who knows if he got blocked there, Henry probably could have waltzed into the end zone on that play. I want to say it was like a third down play, so like they kicked the field goal right after. So that was just a really awesome play to see from the rookie Patrick Queen after like kind of an up and down year. Obviously, you guys already talked about his like splash plays and stuff like that, and then his down game versus good teams. But that play really stood out to me. What I remember most about Queen was he made a huge tackle in the biggest game of the year, and just his potential. Man, he's still 21, and I want to say, I could be wrong, he only had 1 year at LSU, like playing wise, like so he didn't have to come out last year. So like he's still like in his like this should be upcoming his like rookie year. So I think he's
a young player. He's a really young player. He doesn't have as much experience as others, and he needs that time to develop. Like this isn't like he was a guy that needed an off season. He was a guy that needed the full workout sessions that the NFL typically provides when a global pandemic doesn't cease, life as we know it. And so that's he was a player that specifically suffered from what's going on situationally.
And it's going to be very odd seeing number 6. Like that's going to be really strange.
The 3-6 Mafia.
That's
what I'm calling it. LJ Fort is number 3. We got Patrick Queen at 6. I'm calling it 3-6 Mafia. People hate it. I'm calling it anyways. I don't care.
Do people hate it? I feel like it's been like done to death at this point, honestly.
What? I have not heard it from anybody else other than me.
I've never heard 3-6 Mafia other than anyone else but myself, says Kyle Barber.
I like 6 more than LJ Fort's 3. Like LJ Fort in 3 is going to look very strange. I kind of like 6 at Patrick Queen, but I did like 48. Honestly, you make 48 look pretty good.
I like 48.
Yeah.
I think 3 is an awesome number no matter what, just because I was an AI fan as a child. So I'm cool that just LJ Fort show up, be a baller, be the answer.
It was a pretty good movie, but that talking teddy bear kind of got to me a little bit. AI, artificial intelligence, anyone bringing any balls?
I thought you were making a TED reference for a second.
I thought you were making a TED reference. Yeah.
No, look up the movie AI. It's pretty good. It's weird, but it's good. Stuart Schock with his I guess this was his first question.
Another one.
Thoughts on the placement or lack thereof of Ravens in the PFF top 50? And this
that's a hot topic,
my friends, was a hot button topic. We had and Ronnie Stanley in there. I don't care what order it's in, frankly, because it doesn't fucking matter, because this list is a bunch of bullshit that Sam Monson, who wrote it, I'm going to say his name, I don't know what he's doing. Like, what are we doing, Sam? Like, James Bradbury, more impactful, better player than Lamar Jackson. You can argue that these 6 quarterbacks are going to have a better season than Lamar Jackson. Oh, my God, you can argue it. But it's like, okay, so you can only have 6 quarterbacks on the list? Is that what you're saying? Because if that's what you're saying, then that's fine. But you didn't really, like, outline that in the whole thing. And it's just, it's just everyone's coming at me saying, oh, it's just clickbait. It's just clickbait. Why are you all, riled up? Well, I'm just, a little bit simple-minded, I guess. And this stuff just gets to me sometimes. And I gotta defend my guy. Lamar Jackson, not in the top 50.
It was asinine. It was asinine to consider that Lamar Jackson is not in the NFL one of the top 50 best players heading into the 2021 season. That doesn't make any sense. He is by far and away a top 50 player right now. Their list had that. The qualifier for the list was, let me pull it up. Today we start presenting the top 50 players in the league heading into the 2021 season. The ranking below is a projection of what we think will happen and not necessarily a reaction to a spectacular or underwhelming 2020 season. Additionally, positional value is not considered here, so safeties, guards, and even running backs have just as good of a chance to rank highly as quarterbacks, who would dominate this list if positional value is heavily factored. 6 quarterbacks on the list. Patrick Mahomes was number 2 overall. Brady, number 7. Aaron Rodgers, number 10. Russell Wilson, number 22. Josh Allen, number 40. Dak Prescott, number 50.
Dak, number 50, above Lamar Jackson. Dak Prescott, who I like a lot and think is very good, underrated even, is coming off of his leg being put in half. And he's going to have a better 2021 than Lamar Jackson.
Agreed.
like I said, asinine. Jackson has been utterly dominant in the NFL. 30-7 record as a starter if you are a person that cares about quarterback wins, or if you believe quarterback wins are an actual stat. If you don't, you can definitely go for the career accuracy of 64%. He's thrown 68 touchdowns to only 18 interceptions when he became the NFL starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens. Not only that, not a big deal or anything, but he definitely set the single season quarterback rushing record, and he's produced over 2,200 yards over the past 2 seasons, 14 rushing touchdowns. It's not like he's both, a top tier quarterback and also capable of being one of the best running backs in the NFL at the same time. But no. It's cool. Apparently he's just not impactful enough to be considered a top 50 player.
Well, look, James Bradbury's outlook is just looking really good. I mean, at corner for the Giants, they're going to go fucking, 6-11 or whatever it's going to be, and he's just going to have maybe 2 interceptions and maybe a forced fumble and a fumble recovery mixed in there, and maybe he'll get a sack coming off the corner blitzing, and he's just going to look really good. So just got to get James Bradbury in there too. I hate good player, but what are we doing, Sam? Get it together.
The cherries on top of this after this list came out was, I remember they tweeted, who will have a better 2021, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson? And Josh Allen's 40. Like it would have made sense like if they put like Lamar Jackson like 35, but like they left him off the list completely. And then they had the audacity to put like the top 5 like just missed, and they put Lamar Jackson like the first one on there. Like obviously like, so they're pretty much saying he's 51, and like that would like they want just more attention, more clicks after they posted it. So like the whole thing is just I'm a big fan of the top 100 the NFL does with the players voting. Like that's why I look forward to like every offseason. Like the players vote for that. It's not Sam Monson and who, but like that's I'm interested to see what happens there.
I like PFF. I think they have a lot of good guys there. I like Sam sometimes, but I think needs to come to like a reconciliation point with the fact that they are not just a data company anymore. They are very much a personality driven company. They need to get engagement. So they're going to be doing lists like this. They're doing all the tweets earlier in the offseason about who's stopping X offense. They did one for every team because they knew it got engagement on Twitter. They had that one kid say
Bateman on it too. They had Bateman as a little picture.
They had that. They had that kid who said Tyreek Hill is like the best deep threat in NFL history, and they tweeted the whole graphic. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. It's okay.
That kid's, I think he's dead. I don't know.
He might. Yeah,
I think he's out.
One Randall Moss. He might have had a word or two to say about that, but okay. That's enough on that. Ben Rose. Does Hollywood have a breakout year? And then he says, who are some young players you could see making their first Pro Bowl? Mike, I think we had this discussion in our Spotify show the other day.
I had the green screen. Yeah. Hollywood breakout. It's going to be tough, man. I love Hollywood, and I'm a big like fantasy football guy too. So like I like seeing where Hollywood's like ranked, like that's just like a good trajectory of like who's going to get the best stats. So like I know it's not like exactly an NFL and like what's going to do for the Ravens type thing, but there's just so many good wide receivers in the NFL. Like there's a very slim chance he will make a Pro Bowl. Like there's only 8 guys that make a Pro Bowl for wide receivers. Like he's not going to be top 8 by any means. But I think he'll definitely have a very impactful season for the Ravens, like standards wise. Like he's going to have a lot less attention to him with Bateman coming in and really taking like the outside the numbers kind of stuff. And he's going to have a lot of one-on-ones kind of running freely with Bateman there now. And Sammy Watkins too. Like Sammy Watkins has speed. So I think he will be very impactful. But they just won't have the stats to kind of be the upper echelon kind of thing either.
Players that make their first Pro Bowl, I think it's pretty tough to figure out, because a lot of this team is built. The Ravens are built with a lot of veteran talent at a lot of key positions. I think if somebody has the greatest opportunity to earn their first Pro Bowl, it's got to be J.K. Dobbins, paired with Lamar Jackson, going to be the starter, or Gus Edwards. One of those two I think is primed for an incredible season. J.K. Dobbins. Jameson Hensley has him going for over 1,400 yards in a 17-game season now, which is more than capable of happening. Gus Edwards, we already know the greatness that is the Gus bus. And there's a lot of opportunity there for him. As for other players, I've been trying to go through the list, and I completely agree. Wide receiver, it's incredibly difficult to become a Pro Bowl wide receiver if you don't have recognition already, because it typically falls down to a lot of name recognition. Julio Jones could probably get it whether or not he was active for 11 games just because of his name recognition. So I think it's really challenging for that kind of a player. Yeah. As for the defense, I think a lot of defense for Pro Bowl is just super stat driven. So I bet Patrick Queen, if he just racked in, 4 or 5 forced fumbles and had 3 picks, one of them for a touchdown, and got another 100 tackle season, I think he could stumble into a Pro Bowl bid, because we saw it at one point where Ravens players were getting Jeremy Zutaw at center was the 7th guy that finally accepted the Pro Bowl nod, because there was 3 or 4 centers that said no to it, because I think both of the originally voted ones in his year were going into the Super Bowl, so they went to their 3rd alternate, and then they went to their 4th alternate, and Jeremy Zutaw made a Pro Bowl as 4th or 5th alternate. So maybe Patrick Queen stumbles in it that way. I'm not saying Patrick Queen is as bad as Jeremy Zutaw was that year, because he most certainly has never performed as bad as Zutaw was that year. But that's an opportunity there for I think Patrick Queen or maybe even one of the edge rushers Odafe Owe all of a sudden has 7 to 10 sacks in a year. As a rookie, you can most certainly get some recognition through that.
I thought of a name too, unless you want to go in, Jake, but I don't think he will make a Pro Bowl as at this season, but I think he'll definitely have a breakout year. And I've been seeing his name a lot on Twitter recently, is Mailbag. He's come on strong last year, and I think just another training camp, another offseason. Well, actually offseason now, because he was rookie last year with the all that virtual stuff. But learning from Calais Campbell, I want to say that Calais Campbell's really taking him under his wing kind of thing. Isn't he kind of all about hyping him up too? So I think Mailbag is going to have a pretty big kind of breakout year for sure as a second year defensive end there.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. First Pro Bowl, I think J.K. Dobbins definitely going to make the Pro Bowl. Yeah. I think that guys in for a little bit of a breakout. But yeah.
No, PFF said he's the number 26 running back in the NFL.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, the thing here that is his whatever differential, that's my Sam Monson. I'm not going to get too much further into it because I don't know what lingo they use. Switching over to Instagram. What uniform ideas would you like the Ravens to do next? So this is going to be interesting because we don't really have we have a visual component if you're watching on YouTube, but it's hard to kind of paint the picture with this. Kyle, what do you think about uniform ideas? I know you're just a big fashion guy.
I haven't partaken in the fashion tweets like Luke Jones and Jameson do, but I certainly want to. I haven't beat them to the punch on it, and I always forget it's a thing.
Well, it helps that they're in the stadium in the press box, so they run out on the field before the game, and they kind of put it out that way.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's really tough to try and figure out what the Ravens could also wear. Some other teams can change the shading and change the color combos, but the Ravens have it figured out. They have 3 primary colors. It's purple, it's black, and it's white. And gold, we saw what those pants look like. The 49ers, when they do their gold, it looks good. They have a good coloring on their gold / copper kind of look to it. But the gold pants were tragic.
Spencer,
we remember those.
Spencer has the theory that was Harbaugh's idea, and he got really excited for it, and nobody was willing to say oh, John, this idea sucks. We're not going to do it. And then they did it, and he saw the response for it, and he's like, yeah, that was my bad. I kind of subscribe to that notion.
I like the Maryland mock-ups that we've seen all throughout social media. That's you got the Maryland flag on the shoulder pads and stuff. Maryland goes crazy for their state flag. Colorado, I've been living here in Colorado for years, and people love the Colorado flag. It's a really good state flag. But Maryland fans will fight a war for their flag. And it's sick. And I love the Maryland flag. I'm happy I'm moving there in a couple weeks. I'll have that as my state flag now. But like the Maryland flag mock-ups that you can stumble upon on social media, some of those look pretty, they got some heat to them. So that's something that I've considered just because it's really tough to consider anything else. Like they can't do a Baltimore Colts one, that all that history has been taken with them on Mayflower trucks through, and you can learn more about that on Baltimore Colts and oral history.
Tune in Monday for that exact story, how a group of frat bros loaded that stuff into a truck and it left town.
On Forgotten Dynasty, an oral history of the Baltimore Colts, produced by Jake Luke.
That's
pretty legit. Miniseries.
So, I'm a pretty big jersey connoisseur guy. I was one of the people that in Madden, like I would just like spend so much time creating jerseys, like all that stuff when create teams. So I love like uniforms in general. And the Ravens have the best uniform in the NFL with the all black alternate for sure. So there's really not much either. Like Kyle said, there's really not many colors to bring in. Like maybe like the Maryland flag would be good too. Maybe like a gray, but like I don't know if that would even work. That's the only other color I think I can bring in. But I want to say, I could be wrong here, but they've only worn the black top and purple pants one time, and it was that game versus Cleveland, Week 17, when they beat them going to the playoffs, Lamar's rookie year. I think it's the only time they ever worn the black on purple. They didn't even wear that one more because that was like I think such a good combo. The black.
It's funny you say that because everyone loves that combo. I hate it. I like that. Really? I like the white over top the purple a lot more. The one that I think they wore against the Bengals in the spin move game, maybe. The white top purple pants. I love that.
Yeah, so that's a big one now.
That's a good one too. The white I like them all.
They really snuck the purple pants in. Like they had no announcement at all. Like they just like brought those in, and it was like a normal thing. Like that was a great call by them bringing the purple pants.
Yeah, I think they because they had started doing the color rush because they had the NFL like made the movement that like every team was going to get big on color rush, and like they got their color rush and they're like, oh wow, we got these laying around, like let's start kind of mixing them in, and they pants in particular look pretty fire. I'd be curious like what the color rush tops would look like with the other like pants because I don't think they've messed with that too much.
Yeah, the gold numbers. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I'm not like the biggest fan of those, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither. I think maybe, yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't like a lot of people have problems with their current uniforms. I really like don't, especially since they started mixing in the color.
The big thing now is since we can do the retro helmets or the secondary helmets, the NFL did where they bring back the old one with the B. So the problem with that is I don't know if you know this story, but it's pretty well known at this point that they stole that logo from like a local artist, or I don't know what the story exactly is, but like he claims that he sent it to them and then they just started using it. But like people that like send stuff to an organization and then the organization starts using it, like I don't always know what the person expects. Like, are they just gonna like use it and then like, oh, okay, they're just gonna like, what do you ultimately want? You've got to establish those parameters. So I don't know if he did that. I don't know what the situation is, but they can't use that logo for right now, at least.
Yeah. So I just looked it up trying to remember it. And Childs Walker wrote this article back in February of 2008 that a Baltimore man has sued the Ravens for copyright infringement, alleging that the franchise continues to profit from a logo he designed in 1995. Frederick Bouchat, it's Bouchat, so it's not Bouchat, a security guard from South Baltimore, filed suit last week in the U.S. District Court. The amateur artist has long claimed that he created and copyrighted the franchise's original logo. He says the Ravens copied the image and gave him no credit. So it went back and forth on that, and the Ravens maintain that their designers never saw Bouchat's drawing before creating the logo, and that they changed the emblem once they became aware of the copyright problem. Team spokesman Kevin Burns said he was unaware of the suit and had no comment. So that is the whole story beyond that. Is that
what did he copyright it for? So they could use it? And,
yeah, I assume so. They would have to pay him for it, but
why wouldn't they just pay him for it?
I don't know.
So
That's my favorite logo of like any of the one. I mean, maybe I'm just being hipster huge with like. So in 1998, according to Baltimore CBS local, court rejects lawsuit over Ravens' original Flying B logo. So the Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Richmond ruled Tuesday that glimpses of the Flying B in NFL. Oh, excuse me, wrong one. it was ruled in 1998 that the Ravens did steal the idea, but they didn't award damages for it. So, according to the court, it's like you stole it, but like you guys changed it when you got caught. So there's nothing, maybe, or I'm not sure.
No, it's like
I don't know.
it's the opposite of an Alford plea. If you submit to an Alford plea, then you submit to the sanctions, but you're not admitting guilt. It sounds like the opposite thing happened there. They got the sanctions, but there were no sanctions.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Logo, so maybe that's it.
Is it just the helmet, or is it that jersey too?
It's that logo. It's that logo.
I've seen that retro
The flying bee
one.
shield.
Okay, but could they wear that purple, like retro purple jersey they have with
the
like
retro purple with like the big swooshed colored letters and the numbers and stuff.
Like
Those
that one
numbers.
is
Those
pretty-
numbers are so 90s. It's
It is very
The
nice.
numbers. I'm looking at the Priest Holmes picture that I posted. I think that's him. Yeah, it's sweet, man. The bird on the I think it's the Russell Athletic
Instead of
jersey.
shield, it's a bird. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the bird on the sleeves. It's sick, man. If they could find some way to incorporate some iconography like that without getting on, stepping on Mr. Bouchat's toes, as it were, or maybe just like, here's the thing, maybe just like get him in a meeting room, get him to talk to Bisciotti, get him a box, do whatever, get him out in front of it, in front of the crowd, do the coin toss. Fred, we're going to pay you a little bit of guap, and we're going to start using this again because the fans want it. I want it.
And off the jersey topic, this is like a new thing they've done recently too. Like I've probably most people have figured out, but they changed like the end zone colors to their jersey now, which is I think it's been like a 2 year, probably I want to say 2 years they've been doing this, but they do black paint in the end zones for the black jerseys and the purple when they wear purple. I think that's awesome. They should have been doing that for a while. Like that makes a lot better.
Gorlami. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.